Is it fair to ask more of franchise quarterback CJ Stroud?
You are Locked On Texans, your daily podcast on the Houston Texans. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Battle Red Nation, from H-Town to your town. Today's episode and every episode of the Locked On Texans podcast is for Texan fans all around. I'm your Texans credential media member and football analyst, John Hickman. Got a fun show for you guys today. Got to get my ear back to the streets. What are you saying in the YouTube comments? How have you Texan fans been feeling about Houston's 4-1 November run, which is what I'm going to talk about in the second segment. Going to open up today's show just with a conversation surrounding CJ Stroud. Do you want more from CJ Stroud? Are you expecting to see more from CJ Stroud? Can OC get it right? Does he need to be flat out better? So let's start the show there. And I got that conversation from my guys from the group chat as they were talking about it on Twitter today. Thank you for making Locked On Texans your first listen of the day, and also for making the Locked On Podcast Network the #1 sports podcast in the land. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. New customers, if you bet $5 and if that bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. There were some noticeable changes from the offense Sunday with CJ Stroud. Obviously, he didn't score a touchdown, had the one interception, nearly threw for 300 yards in his return. They struggled in the red zone again, 2 of 5 from the red zone, but they increased their explosive plays. 14 completions of 10 or more yards, 7 completions of 15 or more yards. Shout out to Davis Mills because he did help Houston get 3-0, but it's a different feel when CJ Stroud is out there. However, it does feel like when you scroll through social media, when you have some of these conversations in private, people are not necessarily impressed with CJ Stroud for a couple of reasons. Number one, soon Houston's going to have to pay him, right? And so what CJ is giving Houston now in terms of numbers, no 30-yard season, right? Most people feel like to this point, even though I disagree, CJ Stroud peaked in his rookie season. So what the expectation is for now in the future, do you feel like the Houston Texans have got the best out of it? Out of CJ Stroud, excuse me. The line gave him 2.9 seconds to throw on Sunday. I thought he was extremely impressive against the blitz. 10 of 12, 157 yards, 13.1 yards per attempt, 0 sacks taken against the blitz, and also 8 first downs against the blitz. I also noticed no screens on Sunday for CJ Stroud. 8 screen calls for Davis Mills in his 3.5 starts. 1 against Denver, 0 for CJ Stroud against the Denver Broncos. And so I noticed that no screen calls for CJ Stroud. Also, Stroud only has 17 screen calls on the year compared to 8. So Davis Mills has nearly half of that. So obviously there's an expectation for CJ Stroud when he's at quarterback compared to when Davis Mills is at quarterback. You know, the trust there from CJ Stroud to take the shots downfield, make those throws in the middle of the field. You have you and Nico Collins with that experience that you two share. And so they feel a little bit different with him out there. They can fly around and they can have those bigger plays and bigger moments. And, of course, Houston has to get better stopping themselves when they get to the red zone. They got to score, right? These games that Houston has been in, all one-score games in the month of November, they're 4-1. And in most of those games, Houston has had the opportunity to make a play in the red zone, score points. And so when I look at what's going on with CJ Stroud, still an issue. Will it get better? They've had a few moments this year. Baltimore, they got to go in against Tennessee where they finished perfect, where they were able to execute down there. But it does still feel like for many people, and for myself, if I'm keeping it real, that there are moments where I'm wondering, this team that Houston is playing should not be as close as they are. I felt that way. Great performance from CJ Stroud. I thought so against San Francisco. Uh, Over 300 total yards on the day. Had the one interception to 2 touchdowns. That interception seemed to be a little communication issues there between himself and the receiver, but kind of felt that way against San Fran. Obviously, if he finishes against Denver, the outcome could possibly look different. But few times this year, even in the losses, where it felt like could he have done more? Offensive line is different now compared to the start of the season. Trent Brown has been great for Houston. That addition out there, we've seen the pressures go down. I think a couple of occasions, especially on the one where he walked himself back into a sack, felt like CJ Stroud. Remember the preseason moment? I didn't realize I had this much time, right? But the expectation that we are waiting to see from Stroud this year is higher than what we've actually seen. And the results have been disappointing a lot of times this year. And it's not like we haven't seen CJ Stroud make some of these complicated throws, ball placement specialist throws, whatever. We've seen him do it, and we've seen him do it in moments, in drives, in quarters, but not for a full 4 games this year, maybe aside from the Baltimore game. And I asked myself, how often have I saw this year the ball taken out of CJ Stroud's hands when he's finally getting it to roll and he's getting rhythm for himself? If I look at the Denver red zone trip, when he got him down there to the 1-yard line after a great scramble, CJ didn't get an opportunity to do anything from a quarterback perspective. Look at the turnover on downs versus the Colts on Sunday, opting to go with the Cade Stover tush push, and it had worked up until that point, but it's 3rd and 1, and obviously you knew you were going to go for it on 4th down. So not on 3rd and 4th and 1, does CJ Stroud not get the ball in his hands? He don't get an opportunity to do that. I thought that was a mistake. And on that drive, a 29-yard pass, 11-yard pass. He goes out there and does that. You get 3 straight runs from the Texans offense. And I'm not sure if the script maybe has something to maybe a big shot that CJ Stroud could have taken downfield if they convert there, if they pick up that 1st down. But it feels like throughout the year, it's been either or. At times, if we're being fair, it's been both Nick Caley and CJ Stroud in the offensive line combination and maybe some game and clock management. So there's been elements working against whatever the fullness of this offense can look like. But in the next month, the next 5 games, I think it's fair to ask CJ Stroud to be whatever version of perfection we should see from him. In a couple of years, that contract is going to be due. No 30 TD season to this point. Now, do you judge him differently maybe than from his peers, considering how the offensive play calling that's gone here and maybe the makeup and identity of this team to this point? Maybe, but where does that place CJ Stroud in the pecking order of contracts offered at that time? Can you reset the market with that? I'm not here to talk money. I'm just here to talk logistics of what that possibly could look like. And while if that's the expectation for CJ Stroud down the line in 2 years, that needs to be the expectation right now. Everybody this season has done something to pull this team to 7-5, excuse me. And I'm not saying CJ Stroud hadn't, because he has. But the defense has carried this team all year. I think it's fair to have an expectation of, hey, CJ, in this 5-game stretch, we need for you to be everything you've been this year when healthy and more. I think that's completely fair. If the expectation in a couple of years is you can't lose them, do you want to go through the quarterback process again? And I hear that conversation. But if the expectation in a couple of years is maybe resetting the market or close to whatever it is now, these next 5 games matter. His performance in the next 5 games matter. And I think that's fair to say. Now, the last 5 games where the Houston Texans went 4-1 in November, some great things happened for Houston. So let's dive into that conversation and talk more Texans on today's show. The NBA is back. The NFL is popping. There's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of a game or you want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team, like the Houston Texans, making a late push in a season or in a game. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. The defense in the month of November was phenomenal. Phenomenal. On two separate occasions, EJ Speed, Jake Andrews, both mentioned to me, I had an opportunity to speak with them in the locker room. Once against San Francisco, once against Jacksonville. 2 wins for Houston, right? And they both echoed the same message of their head coach. We're not done yet. To the extent of both saying we're not in November yet. EJ Speed said we're not even in November yet. Football don't even it matters now, but we're not where it really gets hard at. Speak to Jake Andrews, and he says we're not even through November yet. So this was a team defensively that was extremely, extremely confident in their ability to go out there and win games. First 3 games of the year, what was the theme? Houston's offense couldn't score when they needed them to score. When they got to the red zone, that was a theme. Offensive line is a mess. That was a theme as well. But what was also a theme? You had opportunities against Tampa to win the game. You had opportunities against Jacksonville the first time to win the game. You had opportunities to win against Denver. And those opportunities came from the opportunities the defense had. So they were confident in tuning up on some of the things that they've kind of failed on and have the ability to carry this team. 4-1 in November. Nobody saw it coming. Nobody saw it coming. And Will Anderson Jr., Daniil Hunter, Derek Stingley Jr., Caleb Bullock, Amari Lassiter. If you look at what Derek Stingley has done during this time span of 5 games, the month of November, 17 yards allowed. This is per PFF. 17 yards allowed per game, 1 TD allowed, 4 pass breakups. 5.5 sacks from Will Anderson, 27 pressures, 18 hurries. Kamari Lassiter, right under 35 receiving yards allowed per game, 1 touchdown, 3 PBUs. Caleb Bullock, just a little bit over 13 yards allowed per catch, 3 interceptions. Daniil Hunter, 7 sacks, 29 pressures, 18 hurries. Davis Mills was great for Houston and Jacksonville in that fourth quarter. They don't get that opportunity without the defense. 3 and out, interception, turnover. And not even in the fourth quarter, the game really could have got out of hand in the third quarter. The defense stepped up, made some plays. It came down to the last moment against Tennessee. The defense had a great day. We saw what happened on national TV a couple of weeks ago on Thursday Night Football. The defense has been phenomenal during this stretch of November. I can't remember. I think this may, well, statistically it is, but this is the best Texans defense in franchise history. It's been fun watching this defense play football. This defense for Houston during this 5-game stretch for Houston, 19 points per game allowed, 3.6 sacks per game, 1.5 turnovers per game, under 200 passing yards, under 100 rushing yards, just 4.6 points allowed in the fourth quarter. 4.6 points allowed in the fourth quarter. That number is criminally under discussed. I think that number speaks to whatever the challenge was, because Azeez Al-Shaair mentioned there was a challenge from DeMeco Ryans. Whatever that challenge was, whatever was said in that practice room, wherever they were, it lit a fire under this Texans defense, under 5 points in the fourth quarter. And it ain't like they played the Raiders, whom they'll take on. It ain't like they played the Browns, right? Buffalo, 28 points per game this season, 19 against Houston. Josh Allen came into the game with an amazing week before. That's how I lost in fantasy that week. 19 points is what that offense was held to. Okay, you head over up to Indy, Stroud House, as they call it right now. The number one scoring offense, right under 30 points per game, held to 16 points, 3.7 yards per carry. Houston is not getting to 4-1 in November. Houston is not in the playoff hunt at the start of December if that defense doesn't do what it does. Straight up. I think there are things we can nitpick with DeMeco Ryans, but right now, is his team underperforming on offense? Yes, they are. Is his team overachieving right now? Yes, they are. What side of the ball is doing that? The side of the ball, the defense, the head coach background is in. Defense. I saw a stat that said their numbers that they're putting up this year in some areas and even better, comparable to the Legion of Boom defense. When we come back, YouTube comments. I got to put my ear to the streets. It's a victory Tuesday. It's going to be a victory week until Houston loses. And with this schedule that they got coming up, they have KC is going to be a tough one. Arizona, Vegas, the Chargers, who Justin Herbert got some things going on. That's already a really banged up offensive line. They are holding on by a thread, and they got Indy again. What's the chances Houston goes 4-1? What's the chances Houston goes 5-0? Again, CJ Stroud plays to the level of expectation. 5-0 is in question. If not, 4-1, maybe 3-2. Up next, YouTube comments. Don't go nowhere. We got more Locked On Texans.
Today's show is brought to you by our friends over there at Peloton. Look, folks, it's time to break through the busiest time of the year with a brand new Peloton cross-training Tread Plus that's powered by Peloton IQ. It's Peloton's most elevated technology and equipment yet that gives you real-time guidance, and it gives you endless ways to move, whether you want to work out by yourself or if you want to work out with your favorite instructor, like my personal favorite, Alex Toussaint. He always gets me fired up to tackle the day. And the thing I like about Peloton, it helps me achieve more in less times. They have features that help you plan, stay motivated, track your progress, and Peloton IQ also provides personalized workout plans and recommendations. That's something that I use right now during the busiest time of the year covering the NFL. They plan my workouts for me based on my mood, my vibe, and also my favorite instructors. So make sure you check it out and use it, because it also helps you correct your form in real time, and it maximizes your reps. It counts your reps so that you can do it smarter, safer, and more efficient. Let yourself run, lift, flex, push, and go. Explore the new Peloton cross-training Tread Plus at onepeloton.com.
Welcome back, Texas fans. Closing out today's episode, diving into the YouTube comments. It's been a little minute. I think we've enjoyed Texans football for the month of November. I hope nobody took what I said about CJ Stroud out of context. Again, I want to give credit to my boys from the group chat. Then I also was talking to a few friends of mine who just love the game of football, and they watch it from a different, perspective. And I think we all agree CJ Stroud is a masterful thrower of the football. I think he's a really good quarterback. I think there's been a lot of turmoil around him, and we can admit that when you got guys breaking in your face consistently, that can harm a quarterback. I understand it. But the defense is going, when this season is over with, the defense is going to be labeled the superstars of the season. The last 5 games, I think we should be asking CJ Stroud, who by his own words, Kim Davis, one of my favorite colleagues, asked CJ Stroud about, what he had opportunity to see.
Yeah, just see how great our defense is, and if we can just, find a way to score in the red zone and, find points, I think, we can go as far as we want because, we have a really, really strong, talented defense. And it was really good to see, and for me, to see from a bird's eye. And that's been the case, but it's a little different when you just get to sit there and watch and be like, dang, other quarterbacks got to go through this. Like, I got to, when I get back, I got to make sure I make plays and put these guys in position to win and, reward them for stops and then turnovers, So I think that's huge. Our special teams, playing well. And then, offensively, I thought we did really solid, but I think we can take another step as well.
CJ, how will you be able?
The man said it himself. Devon Daniels, 51-55. Houston has a chance to take KC out of the playoffs. Yes, they do. If they do that, it's up for anybody in the playoffs to go get a ring. Go Texans follow that up by saying, I don't think KC is a real threat, honestly. So let's get poetic. Let's have a poetic justice moment here. Let's look at the Houston Texans' possibility of making the playoffs. What could potentially happen at the end of this season? Obviously, they start off the year 0-3. That's a part of the storyline. And then they beat Baltimore. They've had issues with Baltimore before. No Lamar Jackson, but they beat Baltimore. Then they lose to Seattle, national TV. God-awful performance. Offense stunk, couldn't punch it in the red zone. Story of the season. They come back and beat San Fran. CJ Stroud looks like he's returning to his old form. He goes out against Denver. He's out for 3 games. Nobody believes. Houston wins 3 games in a row with Davis Mills. CJ Stroud comes back to make it 4 games in a row, beating their division mate, who leads the division currently at the time, beat Kansas City. Stop right there. That would be potentially 2 teams the Houston Texans have struggled against. They don't have a winning record against in the Stroud D'Amico era that they've knocked off. And I think KC, because they have their starting quarterback, if Houston can beat KC, which I think this defense is built to beat, then the pathway to at least a championship game, an AFC championship game, I think could be there. I think it'd be there. It's a great comment. Did y'all see that Ed Ingram block in the run game? That's from my man Jarrell Scott, 5203. I did. Ed Ingram did get beat, allowed a sack, but I thought that Ed Ingram played a solid game. Those guys are built right now to protect CJ Stroud. That's why it goes back to the original conversation. I think he's going to have some time. Mark Carter, 1957. Nick Caley is terrible. This comment got 4 likes. Also, don't exclude D. Ryans. You take the points plus the 2 wins before the half ended. That was followed up by David Williams, 777. I agree on the taking points. I think he meant talking points. Taking the points, excuse me. I agree on taking the points. The O-line is still trying to find its way on run blocking. 3 of the losses this year were due to going for on 4th down and not taking the points with a field goal. It does feel like and I may talk about this a little bit more, but it does feel like DeMeco Ryans wants his offense to be as aggressive as he is for his defense and what they have over there. But they just got the guys to do it. They got the guys to do it. I do think Nick Caley has called some fairly good games this year. I've said it on multiple occasions. I think the Texans offense, and I may need to go look up the numbers on this, but the Texans offense from 25 to 25 with the last since Seattle, I think, even in Seattle, like it's a decent offense. It's when they get to the 20-yard line and they just can't score. And when they get down there, I kind of wonder, man, how often I need to go look at those numbers as well. How often does CJ Stroud not get the ball in those situations? He has to be better in the red zone, speaking of Nick Caley. But I think he's gotten better, guys. I think he's gotten better. And I also think he's gotten better because the offensive line has slowly but surely gotten together and gotten better. Thank y'all for watching today's episode. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the Locked On Texans podcast page on YouTube, wherever you listen to your podcast. Follow me on Twitter at John_Hickman12, on Instagram at Some Sports Guy as well. Texas fans, I'll be back to talk to y'all tomorrow.